Turkey drops strongest hint yet that Khashoggi murder was ordered by those at the top of the Saudi state. U.S. restores its sanctions on Iran. And Education Secretary says it's up to schools to decide whether they are over-testing their students or not.
Good evening. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says he believes the order to kill journalist Jamal Khashoggi came from the highest level of the Saudi government. Erdogan said he doesn't believe the order came from the Saudi king. So that leaves open the suggestion it came from the country's de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Alan Booknia reports.
Jamal Khashoggi was a fierce critic of Crown Prince Mohammed and lived in exile in the United States. In an op-ed column in the Washington Post, Erdogan called on the international community to help reveal the puppet masters behind the slaying. He also called on Saudi Arabia to turn over 18 suspects who have been detained in connection with the murder. Meanwhile, memorials for Khashoggi were held around the world 1 month after his murder. In Washington, his fiancée, who was waiting outside the Saudi consulate as Khashoggi was being killed inside, pleaded via video message for the return of his remains.
This is the smallest thing that one can do after a loved one has passed in the religion of Islam. Nothing has relieved me of the pain from the atrocity I experienced. The most important reason for this is because his corpse has still not been found.
Nihad Awad had known Khashoggi for 25 years.
Rest in peace. And for us, we will not rest until your vision for democracy and free press in the Arab world, in Saudi Arabia, will be realized.
So if the purpose was to silence a moderate critic, the consequences are an unraveling of a whole set of policies for Saudi Arabia that may lead to all kinds of changes. And ironically, that will be Jamal's legacy.
In Paris, the Eiffel Tower went dark as part of a demonstration to protect press freedom. Alan Booknia, TVB News.
The Trump administration has restored U.S. sanctions on Iran that were lifted under the 2015 nuclear deal.
It is aimed at depriving the regime of the revenues that it uses to spread death and destruction around the world. Our ultimate aim is to compel Iran to permanently abandon its well-documented outlaw activities and behave as a normal country.
Any financial institution, company, or individual who evades our sanctions risk losing access to the U.S. financial system and the ability to do business with the United States or U.S. companies. We are intent on ensuring that global funds stop flowing to the coffers of the Iranian regime.
The sanctions that will take effect on Monday cover Iran's energy, finance, and shipping sectors. 8 countries, including Japan, South Korea, and Turkey, have been temporarily waived from U.S. punitive measures for dealing with Iran. The U.S. says they made efforts to eliminate their Iranian imports, but could not complete the task by Monday. But European countries, China, and Russia have vehemently defended the nuclear deal and have mounted a drive to save it without the U.S.
It's all about party bashing in the run-up to Tuesday's midterm elections in the United States. That's the strategy both the present and former presidents are using to secure votes for their candidates. In the final 3-day push before midterm elections in America, Donald Trump's Campaign for Republicans playbook called for exposing Democrats on their failures.
Because we don't want to go back to the Obama days of low wages, high unemployment, rising crime, open borders, far-left judges, oppressive regulation, horrible, horrible, horrible trade deals, disastrous foreign policy.
In West Virginia, Trump pointed to impressive new job numbers, showing 250,000 new jobs were added to America's already booming economy. He insists electing Republicans will keep that prosperous momentum going.
This election will decide whether we build on the extraordinary prosperity that we've unleashed. Nobody can believe what's happened. Or whether we let the radical Democrats take control of Congress and take a giant wrecking ball to our economy and to our future.
As a third caravan of more than 1,000 migrants from El Salvador heads to the U.S. border, Trump warned that voting Democrats is a vote for open borders.
And Democrats want to totally open the borders. They have the caravans, let them in. Do you want to let them in? Does anybody want to let them in? I don't get it.
Obama used that same campaign tactic in Florida. He warned if Republicans win, they'll overturn his signature Affordable Care Act.
One vote. If they win this Tuesday, they'll finally succeed. If they keep control of Congress, you better believe they're coming after your health care. Democrats aren't going to let Republicans gut your Medicare to pay for their tax cuts. They're going to protect your care, period.
And as far as that caravan is concerned, Obama insists it's just a racial scare tactic.
In the closing weeks of this election, we have seen repeated attempts to divide us with rhetoric designed to make us angry and make us fearful. That's designed to exploit our history of racial and ethnic and religious division. Or don't love like we love.
As one man tried heckling the former president as being equally divisive, Obama shut him down.
Get folks riled up just to protect their power and their privilege, even when it hurts the country.
U.S. President Donald Trump says a deal with China on trade is possible, adding that a lot of progress has been made to resolve their differences. Still, Trump is warning he may also impose more tariffs on Chinese goods.
I spoke with President Xi yesterday. They very much want to make a deal. I think we'll make a deal with China, and I think it'll be a very fair deal for everybody, but it will be a good deal for the United States. And they understand that if a deal isn't made, we're doing very well the way we're doing it right now. You understand that. $250 billion at 25%, and it could be elevated by another $267 billion at 25% or more. So we're doing very well.
In local news, the MTR is offering discounted fares both today and tomorrow. This comes after last month's major service breakdown. Adult Octopus card users only have to pay child fares for a trip. As for children and senior citizens, they just have to pay $1. 4 major lines were paralyzed during the morning rush hour on October 16th, which was on a Tuesday. The MTRC earlier said the offer was a small token of gratitude, costing around $30 million. Some lawmakers question why the offer is being rolled out on a weekend and slammed it as a petty favor.
The education chief says it is up to schools to decide whether or not to assess students through tests and exams. Kevin Young added that while there's nothing wrong with testing, tests must have a clear purpose for students. Caleb Bloom has details.
It's up to individual schools to decide whether their students should be assessed in the form of tests and exams, said the education chief. Kevin Young was responding to Singapore and Malaysia's decisions to scrap exams for lower form primary school students. Young says the government has only been holding assessment tests for higher form primary students.
There is only a TSA in primary 3, which is being done on a sampling basis, and there is another TSA in primary 6, or in alternate year there is a pre-S1, which is in secondary 1. There are no other examination organized by the government.
Young also stressed that while schools were given the choice to hold exams for students, there should be a clear purpose to those tests.
We have made it very clearly to the schools that any form of assessment is for the purpose of helping the students to understand their strengths and weaknesses, and as a result to learn rather than to assess the students themselves.
Young also talked about the future of liberal studies, a core component of the Diploma of Secondary Education examination. The subject was blamed by some for stirring political protests by young people, with reports saying it could possibly become an elective pass-fail course. Young says a public consultation on the issue will be held in the middle of next year at the earliest. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
And still to come in our newscast, HKU introduces new point system for applicants. Government stocks up with extra jabs ahead of the flu season. And former TVB star Yami Lam found dead in Stanley home.
Live. Korea. Metropolis. Nature. Freshness. Variety. Culture. Passion. Sky. World. 港鐵朗屏站自然都會生活，朗城會。
Welcome back to TVB News. The University of Hong Kong is introducing a new scoring system for its applicants, setting the Diploma of Secondary Education. As Kena Chu reports, those who score level 5 or above in any of the HKDSE subjects will receive extra admission points.
The University of Hong Kong will be adopting a new point calculation system. The move, which aims to attract the best talent, will be used to admit undergraduates starting in the 2019 to 2020 academic year.
The bonus point system will more than compensate for some of those lower scores if the students can show that they've achieved excellence in one or more of their other subjects.
Under the system, bonus points will be given on top of the present scores attached to each level attained in the HKDSE. An additional 0.5 points will be given to any level 5 subjects, 1 bonus point to any subject with level 5 star, and a 1.5 bonus point for any subject with level 5 star. The university reiterated students will still need to attain at least level 3 for Chinese, English, and 2 electives, as well as level 2 for mathematics and liberal studies. Here's what some students think.
My Chinese and liberal studies are not, I think they are not in a high standard, and I think my electives, like some science subjects, may be better. So this new mark calculation system can help me gain a better overall grade.
I think it may help me in my application, as I may not get really high marks in my core subjects.
And then there was skepticism from others.
I think it is not so good to me because other people will also get this benefit. I think that's not fair for those who take straight 5s.
Po Shing, director of Hokkyo Club's Student Guidance Center, think it's necessary for the university to announce the new arrangement as soon as possible, as it may affect how students strategize their applications.
The new bonus point system will not apply to applicants of the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, Bachelor of Biomedical Sciences, and Bachelor of Pharmacy programs. Kena Chu, TVB News.
The health secretary says the government is well prepared for the winter flu season. Sophie Chan says the supply of flu jabs is greater than last year and noted that more people are getting their shots. Christy Leung with details.
Ahead of the coming flu season, Health Secretary Sophia Chan says the government has stocked up with more flu jabs. The 750,000 some flu jabs has already been an increase as compared to last year. Of course, we will continue to monitor the situation, and in case there is not enough, then we will see if we can buy more.
Since the vaccine subsidy scheme began last month, about 277,000 jabs have been administered, Chen added. That includes 16,000 jabs given to students in 31 schools which took part in an outreach program. Around 87,000 jabs have been given to people at public clinics, an increase of 21% over the same period last year. Around 174,000 jabs have been given to patients at private clinics, a rise of 54% compared with the same period last year. Public hospitals are also preparing more beds and stepping up emergency services. During the peak flu season last winter, hospital occupancy rates were stretched to the limit, and patients had to wait hours for a bed. Christy Leung, TVB News.
More shuttle buses were on hand today to shorten the waiting time for those wanting to use the mega bridge to Macau, Zhuhai. Pinky Wong reports.
Unlike last weekend, when thousands were left waiting, it was a smaller crowd heading to Zhuhai and Macau this morning. Some were happy with the experience.
Very easy, very easy, yeah. For the first time, I think it will be very arranged in a good way, yeah.
Given the long lines last weekend at the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, more buses were on hand today to deal with demand. 18 more single-deckers taking passengers to and from the Hong Kong and Macau ports. That brings a total of 138 shuttle buses instead of 120 last weekend.
A lot of mainland day tourists coming to Hong Kong are taking public transportation to head to areas like Tung Chung. That's because travel agencies that pick up tourists with their private coaches are required to apply for a permit to get into transport interchange.
The second weekend at the Hong Kong port was still packed with tour groups. This lady said she found waiting for public transportation troublesome without private coaches. But it's understandable as it's just the second week since the bridge opened. But this tourist found the area crowded.
Here on this side it's not so convenient, but on the Macau side it was very easy. At least that there are much lesser people.
Still, some travel agencies revealed their plans to use ferries in the return trip to Macau to avoid potential crowds on the bridge. Pinky Wong, TVB News.
Former TVB actress Yami Lam was found dead last night at her home in Stanley. Best known as a great beauty in her heyday, the 55-year-old starred in several popular television serials back in the 1980s. But her life went downwards after a car accident in 1998. It left her with hand and neck injuries. She went bankrupt in 2006 and was living on financial aid. Her friend called police after Lam didn't answer her door, while she also noticed a foul smell from inside her unit. Her body was found in the bathroom. Police say her death is not suspicious.
Overseas again, a gunman in Egypt killed at least 7 Christians who were returning from baptizing a child at a Coptic monastery. Islamic State militants claimed responsibility for the attack. The attackers opened fire mid-afternoon on 2 buses near a monastery in Minya. The witness said the attackers fled. Local residents set their car on fire to express their anger. 6 of the dead were from the same family, and another 19 people, including children, were wounded. The Islamic State has vowed to go after Egypt's Christians as punishment for their support of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi.
The latest shooting rampage in the United States took place at a yoga studio in Florida. 2 people were killed and 5 were wounded before the gunman shot and killed himself.
Emergency responders were here within minutes, about 3.5 minutes. The first officers arrived on scene. When they arrived, the gunman was deceased on scene, and we had, at that time, we had now have identified 6 other victims that received gunshot wounds, and then we also have a victim who was actually pistol whipped. There are indications that several people inside fought back and tried to not only save themselves but other people. which is a testament to their courage.
The alleged shooter is 40-year-old Scott Beerle. Police are now searching for a motive as to why he opened fire at the yoga studio in Tallahassee. The two victims killed were women. One was an accomplished medical professional, while the other was a college student. And that is a wrap of our news.